Let me tell you something most people don't realize. Until it's too late, you will never unlock the true potential of your life by focusing on other people. You don't become great by comparing. You don't rise by competing. You ascend by becoming. You want the secret to success. The key that unlocks everything you're chasing, peace, wealth, influence, love, freedom, is found in one powerful shift. Focus on you. Not in an arrogant, self-centered way. I'm not talking about being selfish. I'm talking about being strategic. I'm talking about realizing that the only person you can actually change, grow, and evolve is you. The real breakthrough begins when you stop watching what everyone else is doing and start working relentlessly on who you are becoming. See, most people are spectators in their own life. They're scrolling, watching, commenting on other people's progress, other people's wins, other people's stories. And all the while, their own life is passing them by like background noise. You are not born to be a background character. You are not some supporting role in someone else's highlight reel, but you've got to stop living outside yourself. You've got to stop wasting time reacting to what others are doing and start responding to what God has placed in you. Because hear me now, distraction is a dream killer. It doesn't have to come in the form of drugs or violence or scandal. Sometimes distraction is just you watching someone else's blessings so long that you forget to nurture your own. And the devil knows this. He doesn't have to destroy you if he can just distract you. He doesn't have to rob you if he can get you to waste your time watching somebody else's grind instead of mastering your own. Let me put it to you this way. When you focus on you, your mindset, your health, your habits, your money, your character, your faith, you become dangerous in the best way possible. You become the kind of person people want to follow. You become the kind of person opportunities chase. You become the kind of person who attracts abundance without begging for it. Why? Because when you work on you, you shift your frequency, you change your energy. You stop being needy and start being magnetic. You stop chasing and start commanding. The most successful people, you know, the ones with the influence, the wealth, the presence, they didn't get there by accident. They didn't get there by gossiping or watching others or calling trends. They got there by mastering themselves. They learned the value of inner work. They understood that in order to lead, in order to win, they had to become worthy of that win. Not worthy in terms of value God already made you valuable, but worthy in terms of stewardship. Can you steward the calling on your life if you keep giving your energy to people who don't even know where they're going? This is what I want you to understand. The real reward is not in what you do, but in who you become while doing it. When you start focusing on you, you move from surviving to thriving. You move from confusion to clarity. You move from chaos to control. You go from reacting to the world to creating your world. You become a force. And the world makes room for a force. So stop apologizing for putting yourself first and for benefits when you stay small. Stop feeling guilty for choosing your peace, your purpose, and your progress. Because when you focus on you, you don't just rise, you elevate everything and everyone connected to you. Your value increases when you focus on personal growth. Like any asset, your value multiplies when you invest time, energy, and intention into yourself. Listen carefully, you are your most important investment. You are not a liability. You are not an accident. You are not a side note in this world. You are an asset. And like any valuable asset, your worth doesn't grow by accident. It grows by intention. You want your life to change? You want to attract better, do more, earn more, live deeper, rise higher? It starts with this one unshakable principle. Your value increases when you focus on personal growth. Think about it. Every wise investor knows that you don't wait for the world to give you a return. You create that return by pouring into something with consistency and vision. Your body, your mind, your spirit, your skill set, your discipline, these are the greatest areas you can invest in. But here's the truth most people ignore. If you don't see yourself as worthy of investment, you will always chase external validation to feel valuable. And that's a losing game. Let's make this plain. A stock doesn't grow because it wants to. It grows because someone poured resources into it: management, strategy, innovation, time. And when you do the same with yourself, the increase becomes inevitable. When you start putting your energy into learning, into healing, into building, into refining your mindset, you don't just grow, you compound. You don't just add value, multiply it. The compound effect works in your favor, just like with money. But in this case, it's the currency of character, confidence, clarity, and calling. You know what's really dangerous? A focused man or woman who knows their worth because they've worked on themselves. That kind of person doesn't beg, doesn't compete, doesn't chase. They attract. Why? Because value always finds demand. You don't have to market gold. You don't have to convince anyone that diamonds are worth something. Their value is evident because of what they've endured and how they've been refined. So ask yourself, are you refining yourself or are you allowing life to rush your potential? Are you upgrading your internal software or running on old programming from your past, your pain, or your environment? Here's the thing: you can't shortcut growth. You can't fake mastery. You can't microwave greatness. You've got to do the work, the quiet work, the unseen, often uncelebrated work. The work that happens when nobody's clapping for you, because it's in that sacred space that value is built. When you choose to get up earlier to read instead of scroll, when you say no to distractions so you can build discipline, when you work on your attitude, your perspective, your reactions, when you learn a new skill, even when no one's watching, that's where the increase begins. Let me tell you something else. People are watching whether you realize it or not. And more importantly, life is watching. God is watching. And the doors you're praying for don't open just because you want them to. They open when you're ready. You don't get what you want. You get what you're prepared for. And preparation happens in the growth zone. The world doesn't pay for average. It pays for excellence. That doesn't chase comfort zones. It chases solutions. And when you grow into the kind of person who doesn't just show up with problems, but shows up with answers, with energy, with integrity, with insight, you become unstoppable. That's how you create leverage. That's how you go from overlooked to undeniable. Let me be real with you. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you your future. But if you invest in you, they will notice. They will come looking. Opportunities will find you. Because in a world full of distractions and detours, the person who is disciplined, focused, and growing is rare. And rarity creates demand. Demand creates power, and power, when submitted to purpose, creates legacy. So today, stop waiting for someone else to recognize your worth. Recognize it yourself. Sharpen your tools, strengthen your faith. Build your emotional resilience. Read more. Reflect more. Move your body, feed your mind. Speak life. Guard your energy. Clean your circle. Set your standard. Grow so strong internally that even if everything external falls apart, you're still rooted, still valuable, still rising. Because your value isn't in what you wear or what you drive or who validates you. Your value is in the strength of your character, the clarity of your vision, the depth of your purpose, and the effort you put into evolving daily. When you grow, everything connected to you grows. Your family, your business, your influence, your income, it all begins with you. So never feel guilty for focusing on yourself. That's not pride, that's stewardship. That's how you honor the gift of your life. Invest in you, because when you grow, you glow, and when you glow, the world notices. People pay for transformation, not information. Stop seeking external validation and start becoming the person others naturally respect and want to follow. We live in the information age. There's no shortage of books, videos, podcasts, or gurus. You can Google anything. You can download strategies in seconds. But if that were enough, we'd all be rich, healthy, fulfilled, and free. So why aren't we? Because information doesn't change people. Transformation does. Let that sink in. We've confused knowing with growing. We've mistaken access for progress. But let me be clear, it's not what you know, it's what you become that shifts your life. It's not about having the answers, it's about becoming the kind of person who embodies them. You can't fake transformation. You can't download character. You can't cut and paste consistency. That comes from the inside out. And here's the key. People don't follow information, they follow energy. They follow presence. They follow transformation. That's why you've got to stop trying to prove your worth and start living it. You've got to stop performing for likes and start becoming someone who commands respect whether or not anyone claps. Because when you transform, you don't need to convince anybody of anything. They feel it. They see it. They respond to it. People are drawn to alignment. When your inner world matches your outer results, it creates trust. When your actions are congruent with your values, it creates credibility. When your words are backed by fruit, not just talk, it creates influence. And that influence doesn't come from information, it comes from the evidence of transformation. Let me break it down further. You don't pay a personal trainer for the workout plan. You can find that on YouTube. You pay them because they change you. You pay for their ability to hold you accountable, elevate your mindset, and push you to a level you can't reach alone. That's transformation. Same thing with coaching. You don't hire a mentor because they say cool things. You hire them because they've lived it. They walk in authority. And that authority comes from the transformation they went through, the fire they survived, the habits they built, the wisdom they carry. People pay for who they've become, not just what they know. So the question is, are you spending your life consuming information, or are you becoming a transformed version of yourself that people can learn from, grow with, and be inspired by? Because transformation takes work. It takes vulnerability. It takes breaking out of your comfort zone, dying to your ego, and letting go of who you were to embrace who you're becoming. And most people aren't willing to do that. They'd rather scroll than evolve, than have rather copy than commit. They want results without the rewiring. But the people who rise, the ones who are respected, remembered, and rewarded, they're the ones who chose the narrow path of internal revolution. That's why you've got to stop chasing applause. Stop craving validation. Stop waiting for someone to co-sign your destiny. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need approval to grow. You don't need followers to be a leader. You need alignment. You need intention. You need transformation. And here's the powerful part when you focus on becoming the person God called you to be, the right people will find you. You won't have to beg to be noticed. You won't have to shout to be heard. You won't have to chase what is already meant for you. Because transformation magnetizes purpose and amplifies vision. It multiplies your impact without you trying to impress. Don't spend your life quoting success. Live it. I don't spend your time trying to look like you've arrived. Work until you've transformed. Because there's a version of you that commands rooms, shifts atmospheres, and builds empires, but you won't get there by consuming more content. You'll get there by choosing to become more consistent, more committed, more disciplined, more aligned. That's the work most people avoid, but it's also the work that changes everything. So today, make the decision to stop obsessing over watching, liking, commenting, or approving. Start becoming the person people want to follow, not because of your profile, but because of your presence. Not because of what you say, but because of who you are. Because when transformation happens, the world takes notice, and you don't have to say a word. Information informs. Transformation inspires. Be the evidence of what's possible, and people will come not for what you know, but for who you are. Self-focus is not selfish, it's strategic. When you grow, you overflow. You can only give what you've cultivated within. Because for too long, you've been told that focusing on yourself is selfish, that taking time to heal, grow, reflect, invest in your mind, guard your peace, or elevate your standards is somehow wrong, like it makes you arrogant or distant. But here's the truth you need to hear loud and clear. Self-focus is not selfish. It's strategic. You are the foundation of your life. You are the root of everything you touch, your relationships, your work, your health, your influence. And if the root is neglected, the fruit suffers. You cannot pour into others from an empty place. You cannot lead from confusion. You cannot give love if you haven't healed the parts of you that were starved of it. You can't give what you haven't cultivated within. Let me make it plain, when you grow, you overflow. That means when you take time to strengthen your mindset, renew your spirit, develop your discipline, and protect your energy, you don't just get better for you. Everyone connected to you gets better too. Think about it. When a tree is deeply rooted and well watered, it doesn't try to produce fruit it naturally does. That's what happens when you focus on you. When your roots are deep in self-awareness, self-respect, and vision, you become fruitful without force. You become peaceful without pretending. You become valuable without seeking validation. You see, the world is full of people trying to do good things from a broken place, parents trying to love their children without healing their own childhood trauma, entrepreneurs trying to build businesses while battling deep internal sabotage, leaders trying to guide others when they haven't even led themselves. And it's not that they don't mean well, it's that they haven't taken the time to be well. You don't help people by losing yourself. You don't make the world brighter by dimming your own light. And you don't become a better partner, parent, friend, or leader by putting yourself last. That's not humility, that's self-neglect disguised as sacrifice. And eventually it turns into resentment, exhaustion, burnout, and bitterness. Let me ask you something. How much longer are you going to shrink yourself to make others comfortable? How much longer will you delay your growth to carry people who never asked you to be their savior and savior? You are not here to rescue everyone. You are here to rise. And as you rise, the people who are meant to grow with you will rise too. So hear me, focusing on yourself isn't about isolation, it's about preparation. It's about building something inside of you that's so strong, so grounded, so aligned with your purpose, that when life gets loud, you don't crumble. When people misunderstand you, you don't lose your peace. When the world pulls at you, you don't fall apart because you're rooted. That's why this work matters, the journaling, the therapy, the praying, the boundaries, the learning, the solitude, the spiritual warfare, the quiet mornings, the hard decisions, the messy healing, all of it. That's the groundwork of greatness. Let's be clear, you weren't created to live on autopilot, burned out and bitter. You were created to overflow, to be so full of clarity, vision, strength, and purpose that everything you do becomes an extension of who you are, not a performance, but a reflection. And when you operate from overflow, your love isn't draining, it's energizing. Your generosity isn't exhausting, it's joyful. Your presence doesn't feel heavy, it feels healing. That's what makes you powerful. Not just what you do, but how you do it from a place of fullness. So today, give yourself permission to focus, to unplug from the noise and plug into your purpose, to stop apologizing for needing space, to start seeing your self-work not as indulgence, but as strategy. Because the best gift you'll ever give the world is the most whole, healed, focused version of you. And remember this, when you take care of you, you're not just investing in yourself. You're investing in your future, your family, your calling, and your legacy. Self-focus is not selfish. It's survival. It's stewardship, and most of all, it's a responsibility. Distraction is the enemy of wealth and purpose. The purpose on others, the more your power. Stay in your lane and watch how your life changes. Let's get something straight. Distraction is not harmless. It's not just a momentary lapse in attention. It is a silent assassin of dreams, wealth, purpose, and potential. It doesn't have to destroy you all at once. It just needs to divide you a little at a time. Pull your focus away from your mission and make you forget who you are and what you're here to do. And in today's world, distraction is everywhere. You're not just distracted by your phone or your notifications. You're distracted by comparison, by what others are doing, saying, achieving, buying, or pretending to be. You're distracted by the need to compete in a race you were never designed to run. You're busy looking at their lane when yours is waiting to take you to everything you prayed for. But here's the truth. Every time you focus on someone else's journey, you dilute your own power. You lose energy, you lose clarity, you lose momentum. And without momentum, you go nowhere fast. You look busy, you feel tired. But deep inside, you're not advancing, you're circling. You can't build wealth or walk in purpose when your eyes are constantly on someone else's plate. You can't become exceptional if you're always trying to be accepted. You can't be original if you're obsessed with imitation. Greatness doesn't come from watching, it comes from doing. From locking in and refusing to be pulled in 1,000 directions by things that don't serve your vision. You have to understand your focus is your power. It is your most valuable currency. Wherever it flows, growth follows. So if your focus is on problems, you'll grow stress. If your focus is on people, you'll grow insecurity. If your focus is on your past, you'll grow regret. But if your focus is on your purpose, if your focus is on your craft, your discipline, your vision, your healing, your elevation, then success is inevitable. Distraction is the enemy of wealth, not just financial wealth, but mental wealth, spiritual wealth, emotional wealth, legacy wealth. It keeps you consuming instead of creating, reacting instead of leading, doubting instead of doing. And the longer you stay distracted, the longer you delay the life you were designed to live. Here's the dangerous part. Distraction often wears the mask of productivity. You think you're moving forward, but you're really just busy. You think you're informed, but you're really overwhelmed. You think you're connected, but you're actually drained. Because the world isn't designed to make you focused, it's designed to make you addicted. Addicted to noise, to validation, to opinions, to scrolling through lives that have nothing to do with yours. So let me ask you, whose race are you running? Whose voice is dictating your direction? What are you giving your attention to that isn't bearing fruit? It's time to take your power back. Stay in your lane. That lane that may not look like much now, but is loaded with potential. That lane where your gifts live, your purpose breathes, your greatness grows. That lane where no one else can compete with you because they weren't built for it. That's where miracles happen, not in imitation, but in alignment. Because when you focus, you multiply. When you focus, you accelerate. When you focus, doors open, ideas flow, solutions rise, and confidence takes root. Distraction divides, but focus compounds. And compounded focus builds empires. Let the others talk. Let them flaunt. Let them run their race. You've got nothing to prove, just something to build. Something to protect. Something that can't be touched if you stop looking around and start locking in. Every time you're tempted to compare, redirect your attention to your growth. Every time you feel the need to compete, redirect your energy toward your calling. Every time you feel left behind, remember, delayed is not denied. Stay planted. Stay focused. Because when you master your lane will make room for you. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the focused, fearless, fully aligned version of you. So silence the noise. Block the distractions. Cancel the comparisons. Your wealth is in your work. Your power is in your presence. Your purpose is in your obedience to the lane you were born to own. Distraction is the enemy. Focus is the weapon. Stay in your lane and watch your entire life change. You become irresistible when you're fully aligned with your purpose. The world is drawn to people who are dialed in, disciplined, and focused on becoming who they were created to be. There's something magnetic about a person who knows exactly who they are and where they're going. You can feel it when they walk into a room. You can hear it in their voice. You can see it in their discipline, their presence, their energy. They don't need to announce their purpose, they embody it. And that embodiment makes them irresistible.
Let's be real. We live in a world obsessed with appearance. People chase clout, buy status, fake confidence, and build identities on likes and trends. But none of that can compete with someone who's fully aligned with their purpose. Why? Because alignment is real. Alignment is powerful. Alignment creates attraction without manipulation, without trying to be seen, because purpose is loud, even in silence. When you're aligned, you're not desperate. You're directed. You're not chasing, you're choosing. You're not trying to fit and you stand out by simply showing up as your highest self. That's what alignment does. It removes confusion, eliminates noise, and magnifies your presence without you even trying. Alignment makes you unstoppable, not because life becomes easy, but because you become anchored. When you know your why, distractions lose their appeal. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You're laser-focused on what you were uniquely created to do. And that clarity, that level of discipline, it's rare. That's why it's attractive. People are drawn to certainty, to passion, to authenticity. And when you're living in purpose, people feel your energy shift. They respect your boundaries. They mirror your intensity. They sense your conviction, and that inspires them to rise. Not because you're demanding attention, but because you're living in truth. But let's be honest, alignment doesn't just happen. It's chosen, it's earned through discipline, through sacrifice, through saying no to distractions, and yes to discomfort. You have to stop living for approval and start living for assignment. You have to stop copying what works for others and get in tune with what was placed in you. Because real success isn't about how loud the world claps. It's about how clearly your soul aligns with your calling. And here's the truth, purpose isn't always glamorous. It's not always Instagrammable. But when you're walking in it, you're powerful even when you're unseen. You're valuable even when you're overlooked. You're confident even when you're doubted, because you're not looking for the world to validate you. You've already validated yourself by doing the internal work, building your character, and becoming someone of substance. There's a version of you the world can't ignore. A version that doesn't compete, doesn't chase, doesn't apologize for being focused. A version that gets up early, works in silence, prays with intention, and leads with integrity. That version of you, that's who you unlock when you align your habits with your purpose. When you stop entertaining confusion, when you stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You've got to understand purpose creates gravity. You begin attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right momentum. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. The people who succeed at the highest levels are the ones who protect their alignment ruthlessly. They guard their time. They honor their gifts. They don't spread themselves thin trying to please everyone. They go deep in what they were born to do. And that's where you become magnetic, not when you try to be popular, but when you walk in power. Not when you shout, but when your life speaks. People start watching you, listening to you, respecting you. Why? Because alignment speaks louder than performance. Purpose speaks louder than perfection. So if you've been wondering how to stand out in a noisy world, let me give you the truth. Stop trying to be seen. Start trying to be aligned. Because when you are, the world will feel it. You'll move different, think different, work different. And that difference will draw the right people, open the right doors, and position you for everything that's already yours. You don't need to hustle for worthiness. You don't need to scream to be noticed. You just need to become disciplined, focused, dialed in. And when you do, you'll realize the most attractive thing you can ever be is aligned with your God-given purpose. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when you become unforgettable. That's when you become irresistible.